So now I'm going to tell you how you can add, delete, copy, and paste files in a multi-track session. To follow along, you need to go get a bunch of files. So you can go File, Open, like that, or take the easy route, just double-click here inside an empty space in the Files panel, and go to the Working Files Narrations subfolder and grab the first Gettysburg clips. To get a bunch of contiguous clips, just click on the first one and shift-click on the last one to get you all those contiguously placed clips, and click Open. Now let's get a few more. So double click here in this empty space and go to the Working Files Music, Just Too Hard to Find folder, and click on the header here just to make sure that you've got things alphabetized. You might click twice to get things so that they're all lined up nicely. See the size of the files are all the same here. So let's click on the first one and shift click on the last to do contiguous selection, or do the marquee selection method where you click off to the side at the top or the bottom and then drag to make a marquee. That's a cool way to get contiguously placed clips, and click Open. Now we have a boatload of clips over here in the Files panel. Now we need to make a new multi-track session, so go File, New Multi-Track Session, and we'll call this one Studio Session. Since we're going to use the studio clips, make sure you put that inside your Audition Exercise Files folder, and we'll have it be 48,000 Hertz to match the sample rate of the studio session, and we'll use the None template, and that adds this new multi-track session with 6 tracks and a master track down the bottom. Alright, let's add some clips to this multi-track session. We'll take this first one, click on it, and drag it over, and notice as you drag it over, an orange bar appears the moment you get over the header. The orange bar says if you let go now, this clip is going to go right at the beginning of the track, which is, 90% of the time, that's exactly where you want it to go. When you get over the edge, then it starts sliding to the right. As long as you're inside the header, then you let go, and that guy lines right up. No gap between the beginning of the clip and the beginning of the track, which is a good thing. Now I want to drag another clip over there. Let's say I drag this clip on top of this clip here. Now, if you've worked with any kind of video editing product, you're going to think, okay, it'll replace what's there. But that's not how it works in Audition. It actually puts it on top of it. There are now 2 clips inside that track. Let me zoom out so you get a better look here by zooming out a little bit. And now I'm going to take this top one, use the Move tool. Notice that I have the Move tool selected here. But even if I had a different tool selected, as long as I'm hovering over the header, it turns into the Move tool. I slide it to the right, and lo and behold, there's the clip we put on it first. And those yellow lines are saying, oh, do you want to make a crossfade here? You can put a crossfade between those 2 clips. But that's not what we want to do here, so we're going to go back and lay that guy like that. And in fact, I'd rather have number 2 be on the second track, so I'm going to take the Move tool and just drag it down, which you can do, and there we go. I want to add a bunch of clips all at once. This one clip at a time thing could get kind of tedious, so I'm going to select a few more. I'm going to select the clips 3 through 5 here by clicking on the first one and shift-clicking on the 5th one. And I want to include them in the multi-track session simply by dragging them over. So what's going to happen if I drag them to track 3? You'd think then that the 4th clip and the 5th clip would then go on down here into tracks 4 and 5, right? It's not going to happen that way. When you bring in multiple clips, the first clip goes in whatever track you drag it to, number 3. But the remaining clips will make new tracks. They will cause the creation of new tracks. And so these clips are going to be in tracks 7 and 8. Now, here's track 3 with 3 in it. Then these clips are now in 7 and 8. And that is the default behavior of Audition. Just be aware of that. The other tracks are still down there empty, waiting to be populated, 4, 5, and 6. But when you add clips in multiples like that, they will then make new tracks below whatever track you put the first one in. No big deal. I mean, you can just renumber these tracks or rename them anyway, so that's not a really horrible thing. But just be aware that's what happens with the numbering system. So I'm going to bring a number of other clips in now. I'll do it in a different way. I've seen this way before, but I just want to show you what happens inside this session. I'm going to select a bunch of these guys. I got 4 more here just above the Gettysburg, so I'll select those 4. You can now insert them into a multi-track session. Now, if the current time indicator is at the beginning, then when I insert them, they will be inserted at the current time indicator. But if I drag this to the right a little bit and right-click on these guys and say Insert in the Multi-Track and select the studio session, bam, they go way over here to the right. Let me zoom out a bit by clicking on this Zoom Out All Axes here so you can see all those clips. They're in the wrong place. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You can tell they're all selected because they're darker, or they're obviously highlighted except for this first one, which is the main one, but they're all darker than these other guys. That means that they were selected. So if I take the Move tool, which right now I've got the time selection tool, but if I hover over the header, it turns into the Move tool. I can slide them all at once in one group to the left and get them all lined up. So it's not a horrible thing if you happen to get them in the wrong place. Just slide them over. So that's how you add clips like this, one above the other, or not necessarily side by side anyways, inside a multi-track session. But now I want to show you how to add things side by side. So we'll make a new multi-track session, go File, New Multi-Track Session, and we'll call this one Gettysburg. And we'll have this be 44.1 because the files of the Gettysburg narrations are at 44.1. If I left it at 48,000 samples, then when I add the Gettysburg files to it, we would create new files that would be stored inside the Gettysburg folder. So let's not worry about doing that. Let's just put it at 44.1 to match these guys and click OK. That makes a new multi-track session as before. Take the Gettysburg 1 and drag it to the track. Now I want to drag the Gettysburg 2 next to it. Now right now, the snapping button is off. So let's see what happens when snapping is off. I'm going to drag it over there. I want it to be after it, but look at that. I can't really tell if it's right up against it. I really do want it to snap to the edge, but no such luck. If I let go, it'll overlap a little bit. There won't be a crossfade because I haven't moved it. But if I move it, then it'll try to make a crossfade. Now again, I'll talk about crossfades in another tutorial, but I really would prefer that it snap to the edge. So snapping is really a good thing to have turned on here. So I turn it on, and now I can slide it over and snap it right like that. Let's take 3, 4, 5, and 6. We'll do them one at a time here. Get that right there and snap it. Now I want to bring 4 over, but I can't see the end. If I drag it over, try to get it to slide over, it won't slide over. So that's a little bit of a inconvenience. So I need to zoom out a bit to see that. Zoom out as far as I can now. I can't go any farther, just a little gap at the end. Take 4 and drag it in there. Okay, fine. But now I want to zoom out again, so I do that again. I bring in 5. And the same thing for 6. Zoom out again and bring in 6. A little of an inconvenience, but that's just how it works. I want to show you how you can copy and paste things. If you click on a clip like that, you can copy it and put it down on another track, which you might need to do. So let me just show you how to do that. The typical way to do it is to go Edit, Copy. You can see the keyboard shortcut is Control-C in Windows and Command-C in Mac. That's like the de facto copy keyboard shortcut. It's across all software. So if I just go copy, that is now copied into the clipboard someplace. And if I now select track 2 or track 3, wherever I'm selecting it, whatever track I select, I can then paste it to that track. And wherever I put the current time indicator is where it will go. So I can go Edit, Paste, or I can go Control or Command B, and boom, it shows up down here. Now this copy is what's called a reference copy. I haven't actually created a new file. It's just that this clip down here and that clip up there both refer to the same file on the hard drive, so nothing's been changed there. Let me show you a different way to make a copy. I'll take number 4 here. I'm going to right-click on it and drag. So I right-click and drag. As I drag it, notice it tries to get a crossfade going, but I'll drag it down. Now it's going to go to another track. And if I let go here, I'm going to get a little menu that pops up. The menu says, do you want to copy it here? Okay, fine, which is a reference copy. Do you want to copy unique here? Well, that's different. That's going to make a whole new file if it's a copy unique. If I say move, then this clip will disappear up here, and then it'll appear down here. Or I can cancel the whole darn thing. Well, I want to do copy unique here. I want to have a new unique copy. So I click that, and notice that now it's called Gettysburg 4_1 to indicate it's like a unique copy. And it appears over here as well in the Files panel. And this file has now been added to the folder where your Gettysburg session is. So what happens? What's the difference? I'm going to go open up Gettysburg 1 inside the editor panel. Double click on that. I'll increase the volume on it like so. I'm going to click away to deselect and go back to the multi-track session. And you can see that both of those guys have now had their volume increased. I'm going to go to Gettysburg 4 here and increase its volume. I'm sure you're guessing what's going to happen now. That one goes up. I click here to deselect, go back to the multi-track session. And 4 is up, but not the unique copy of 4. So they behave independently now. Just so you know, that's how the copy and paste works. So now if I want to delete these clips, I merely need to select them by clicking on them. If I click on them with the time selection tool or the move tool, I select them like that. And I just press the delete key or the backspace key on my keyboard, and they're gone. So I'll select this guy down here. I'll take the move tool just to show you can select it with the move tool as well. And press the delete key or the backspace key and get rid of that. Now if I select this clip here and press delete, we have this gap here, which is not really what I want to do. I can get rid of the gap by right-clicking and saying ripple delete gap. That'll fill the gap. Or I can do that in one step instead of 2. I'll back up here twice to see that one. I can do what's called a ripple delete using the edit menu. I'll show you the edit menu, then I'll show you the keyboard shortcut. So edit, ripple delete, and then selected clips. So I'm going to delete the selected clips and then ripple the other clips over And the keyboard shortcut is Shift Backspace. So I'm going to click away from here and then do that with the keyboard shortcut. So Shift Backspace, and then that does what's called a ripple delete. It takes everything in the timeline there, it takes everything along that track and shoves them over to fill the gap. So that's a brief overview of how you add clips, delete them, copy them, and paste them inside a multi-track session.